Okay, everybody, welcome back to DDF Footy Chat. It's been a couple of weeks since we last did an episode, so welcome back to all of the existing viewers. So we're going to go straight into it. But before we do that, just want to say Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy New Year. We're technically still in the festive period, right? Technically, I mean, there's kind of like 12 days.
It's over.
Well, all right, it's over. Matt said.
Yeah, I guess the 12 days of Christmas start after Christmas. Yeah. So yeah, Christmas is the first.
It's up until like the 7th of January or something like that. Who actually cares? Okay, so we've come together again. We've united again to discuss all of the festive periods, what our thoughts are in regards to all of the action that we've seen, but also to talk about some of the games that we've experienced this weekend. So let's go straight into it. I don't think there's any better place to start than the game that we've just watched, which is Chelsea versus Liverpool. So Tom, I'll come to you first. What did you make of the game?
Oh man, entertaining stuff, end to end. I thought both teams deserved the win today. That was how good it was. It was like, and I'm glad it was a draw, really, because I think it deserved a draw. It just makes me wonder what they're going to do, what Liverpool are going to do with Salah and Mane. I also think they've got some big issues coming up. I think they're surrendering a 2-0 lead. I mean, they were a little bit vulnerable at Leicester as well, hence the win. So I also think now is a time when Man City are going to nail the coffin on Liverpool's chances of winning the Premiership, personally. But, I mean, I love the game. Oh, man, so many highlights. The highlights match the day are going to be mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, it was pretty entertaining. Got to say this, the second half got a bit cagey. You didn't see that much. You know, the first half in comparison to the second half was just it almost seemed as if they were quite content with a draw. They didn't want to. It was a bit like damage limitation. Let's not lose this match because either team could have. But yeah, first half very entertaining. I thought once Liverpool went 2-0 up, yeah, game over. But Chelsea really went to them, and they were playing like, I mean, flipping Gary Neville wouldn't shut up about how fast Chelsea were playing compared to how they usually do. And yeah, it was a different kind of style of play from Chelsea because they knew they had to get a win out of that game to stay in the race. For me, the race, Man City have got to like massively slip up to lose this title race. So
yeah. No, like 100% agree. Like for me, whilst I was watching the game, all I kept focusing on was all of the noises Gary Neville kept on making in the first half.
Yeah, he was bringing out the noises today.
Man. I don't know what was going on in that commentary booth, but he was having a good time. Like,
yeah, I just remember that time when
Aguero.
Who was it? Torres scored. Chelsea goal
and then he was like,
Champions League. He wanted to do that again today, but it didn't quite come out.
Yeah, like there was one point, I don't know who had gone through. I don't know whether it's Pulisic or something, but Gary just went, oh! I was like, what is this?
He was ready for that massive noise to come out today, but it just didn't make it.
I think he almost wanted that Aguero moment again to happen. Oh!
Yeah.
But it was a cracking game. Like, I was quite invested in it. I'm happy it was a draw. I think that benefits all of those around the top four sides. Arsenal, United, maybe Leicester might get back into it at some point. Sorry, Tom. But yeah, no, it genuinely does benefit those top four sides because I don't think now it's a race for fourth place. I think that Chelsea and Liverpool they've come into it now. And the reason why I'm saying that is because this is a big if, all right? But if United win their 3 games in hand on Chelsea, we go 3 points behind them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that's a big if, but it could happen. We could win those 3 games because our games in hand, obviously Wolves tomorrow, and then we've got Brighton and Brentford. You would say on paper that we would win those, but you never know. The game is not played on paper. So all I'm saying, regards to that point, is that Liverpool and Chelsea, they've played themselves into a top 4 race now. I think that this result today, it's game over. I genuinely think that Man City have already got this league wrapped up. I think they're 12 points clear now, and I think that their next game is Chelsea. I think that's their next game as well. And so, again, they could absolutely wrap the league up even more so. So I think that a draw doesn't do any good for either side. But it was a great game to watch. When Liverpool went 2-0 up, I was like, oh, man, here we go. They're just going to run away with it now. And then there was just the slight tweaks that Tuchel made. And, Chelsea just came straight back into it. Kovacic's goal was just insane. Yeah. And I saw some Liverpool fans on Twitter saying, if Alisson was playing, he would have saved that, mate. And I was just like, no, he wouldn't have, mate. It was top bins. It was absolute top bins. And then for their other goal as well, if Alisson was here, he would have saved that. And they were saying if Klopp was on the touchline, he would have sorted all of this out. And I was like, this is just typical Liverpool fans.
Well, yeah, exactly. But they need an excuse, don't they?
Yeah, they just weren't that good today. I'm going to say it here and now, and feel free, Liverpool fans, to dislike me or whatever, but Virgil van Dijk ain't that good anymore. Right, I'm just going to say that. I think he's an average player. If anything, I'd say on this season's performance, you could even say that Ben White is a better player. All right, he's in better form. Okay, that's how much I'm willing to go on it.
Wow.
Why is that? What do you think he's not quite back to where he was?
Yeah,
the injury screwed him over.
Yeah, the injury.
He's still recovering from his injury, isn't he? Really?
Is he though? Is he? I mean,
mentally he probably is. Mentally, he hasn't hit the rhythm yet, has he? It always takes that time. It's never the physical part. It's the mental part after an injury like that, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, but I'm saying at this present moment in time, no Liverpool fan can say that Virgil van Dijk is the best defender in the world. They can't. On current form, he's on level with Harry Maguire. Okay, in terms of performance-wise, he's been putting in Harry Maguire style performances. I haven't seen him run out with the ball much. I mean, he's done the occasional diagonal pass, but so's Maguire. I'd say on current form, you could be saying that Arsenal centre-backs are currently better than Virgil van Dijk. And before any keyboard warriors come on and start saying it, say on current form, you could say that Arsenal centre-backs are better. I'm not saying in general, but on current form, Listen to the words. But yeah, I just didn't think Liverpool were that good. I thought Chelsea weren't that great in the opening kind of first few minutes, but then they started to run away with it. And you'd have to agree with Gary Neville and what he said, that it's been all Chelsea. They've set the pace and the tempo. And how are Liverpool going to survive without Salah and without Mane? I mean, I messaged my dad. He's a big Liverpool fan for his sins. So I messaged my dad and I was like, how are you going to cope without Salah and Mane? And he was like, yeah, but we're having a 2-week break now. And I was like, well, you've still got the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, and then you've got the Premier League to come back after that. Mane and Salah, depending on how far Senegal and Egypt go, they could be coming back mid to late February, So what you can do in regards to that? So who knows? But how do you guys think that Liverpool are going to fare without Salah and Mane?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. We've got Liverpool in the Carabao, obviously, so really happy that we haven't got to face Mane and Salah. And I'm pretty confident that we can come out of the game. It's a two-legged game, so I think we can come out there with a win because, we've got Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup following weekend, and I think that's where we need to focus on probably resting some of our team. But these two games against Liverpool, I expect to see our A-team. And they haven't got their A-team because they've got no Salah, no Mane, and they've got no Alisson because he's got COVID. So it really could be a massive, massive time to capitalise on that. Get into a final, we're laughing then.
All I can hope, right, is that Arsenal beat Liverpool and get to the final and then you lose in the final. That's all I can hope. So, Tom, how do you think that Liverpool are going to fare without their two essential?
I think they've got some good players still. I think they've got Firmino. He's going to really want to get back in the team.
COVID.
And this... Oh, has he got COVID?
Yeah.
What about Jota?
Yeah, he's playing.
No, Jota's staying, yeah.
So he'll be, these sort of players, I mean, Jota at the moment, he's a mainstay at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, but Tom, how do you think that they're going to fare without their main playmakers? And what I'm saying is that they're going to have... So Jota's going to probably lead the line, but then they're going to have Minamino and maybe Divock Origi.
Yeah, Origi's I think they've got enough players to keep going, but they're never going to be the threat. They're never going to be like arguably the best team in the world, they're not going to be that way. Man
There's
City, if they
only
play
one
Man
player-
City when Arsenal in form, I can't see them really. It's not like before. It was like if Liverpool played Arsenal, it was like, I know who's going to win that. I can put some money on that. I know what's going to pretty much going to happen. Now it's like Arsenal are competing big time, and it's like Liverpool are going to be lucky if they're like fighting for the top spot this time in a month's time.
Yes.
Massively lucky.
So Liverpool's next fixtures without Mane and Salah, and this is just kind of going into the early part of February. Their next fixture is against Brentford, and Brentford ain't no mugs, okay?
They 3-3 draw last time, wasn't it?
Exactly. So they got Brentford, then they've got Crystal Palace away. Palace isn't an easy place to go to. And then they've got good old Leicester, at Anfield.
Wow, again.
Yeah, and that's on the 10th of February. So they won't be back by then. And then if they do go a little bit further, Liverpool then have Burnley at Burnley. They are all droppable games. The reality is that probably they're going to come away with 50% wins. I could imagine that they might sneak the game against Brentford and or Palace. But I wouldn't be surprised if they drew or lost to Leicester. And I certainly wouldn't be surprised if they dropped points at Burnley as well. Because going to Turf Moor is not an easy place to go to. It's like when Stoke were in the Premier League. Everyone used to slap Stoke up when they came away from home. But when you went to Stoke's home ground, they get slapped up by that stupid Rory Delap long throw-in and stuff like that. So anything that can happen. I do believe that Liverpool overly rely on Mohamed Salah because at the moment, I hate to say it, but he is probably the best player in the world.
He is the best player in the world.
Yeah, and that really pains me to say. But he is. How many teams, when they lose their best player in the world, really struggle? It was evident when Liverpool lost Van Dijk to that horrible injury that he had, how open they were at the back, but they still had Salah there doing what he always does.
We got you look at the post African Nations Cup effect of it. They're going to be worn out. I mean, yeah, you're right. Depending how far they go, they're not going to come back fresh. They're going to be worn out. They're going to have a little process of getting back in the team. So it's not just as soon as that's finished, that's the end of it. There's going to be more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but this is Mohamed Salah. Like, I don't think he's going to struggle.
Yeah.
He's, like we said, he's the best.
Not true. I'm saying at his best. Though. I'm saying at his peak. I'm saying at the level Arsenal Liverpool need to be at immediately.
And you don't know whether he's going to come through these games unscathed as well. Like he could potentially come back with an injury or whatever. But also, if we just turn it on to Chelsea now, they're going to be missing their keeper Edouard Mendy, aren't they? Because he's going off for the against
miss. I think that might be a bigger miss than Salah.
I agree. And that's why I'm saying is that Liverpool and Chelsea could find themselves in a top 4 race. Yeah, because they're missing some very key influential players. I think it's only Chelsea that's missing Mendy in terms of their first 11. I can't think. I think most of the other players are European, so I don't think there's any more African players in there. So that might bode them well, but they are missing Mendy, who has. Well, I thought he was great today. He made some cracking stops from Mane, Salah. So like Matt said, Mendy could prove to be a bigger loss than Salah because I hate to say it, but that Divock Origi for Liverpool, he always pops up with something. He's popping up with something. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out to be the hero as well. I listened to a radio segment, and it was this Liverpool fan that was spouting absolute nonsense. And he says, "Oh, do you know what? I'd rather have Divock Origi than." Why am I going Welsh?
That's Welsh, mate.
I'd rather have Divock Origi than Cristiano Ronaldo, and I literally wanted to blow my own brains out. Like the hype that some of these players get from their fans is just ridiculous. But anyway, in terms of the game today, thought it was great. Good result 2-2, benefits those around the top 4. It was just an entertaining game. Tactically, they were both up there, but I would say that Chelsea were the better team. Yeah. Okay, guys, if you are still watching, then do let us know in the comments below what you made of the Chelsea versus Liverpool game today. Let us know whether you think Chelsea are going to be hindered more by the loss of Mendy or whether Liverpool are going to be hindered more by the loss of Salah and Mane. Okay, so let's go on to our overall roundup of how we think our clubs have done during the festive period. So, Matt, I'm going to come to you first because I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say. What do you think of how your side have performed over the last few weeks in terms of the festive period?
Absolutely brilliant. Can't fault the team at all. Coming off of that Aubameyang whole saga, and it's absolutely paid off because we've all been crying out for Martinelli to get more game time. Give it to him, and he pops up with amazing performances. Aubameyang struggling to get back in this side if he does come back. So really, really excited for the rest of the season because I think after seeing the performance against Man City yesterday, Pep was saying they were tired and all this, and that we were the better team, but we did have longer to prepare for that game where they only had like 2 days, less than that, I think. So I'm not like giving Arsenal like super like hyping them up against that. I mean, we did play good against Man City. We lost the game out eventually anyway, but I think the positives going into the rest of the season are just the same as what we had before. Really, just we've got some excellent younger players that are just performing brilliantly. Saka on the right, Martinelli on the left. Smith Rowe coming off the bench and still scoring goals. The defence has been pretty good. So, yeah, pretty happy overall. We scored a lot of goals as well. So we boosted our goal difference. +8 now, which is nowhere near the likes of Man City, Liverpool, but positive goal difference. And yeah, scoring goals, that's what we need to be doing. And with Aubameyang in the team, we didn't seem to be getting that many. We were scraping 1-0 wins and stuff. We were getting like 5-0, 4-1. I mean, even beating like West Ham 2-0. Excellent. So, yeah.
Okay. Tom, what have you made of Arsenal's last few weeks?
I think they're gelling really nicely now. I think if you look at how they did against Man City last time, compared to the last time they played them. So this time compared to last time, that's progress. That's the progress that Arsenal fans have been just begging for, really. Martinelli, why didn't you get Martinelli on before? Why have you waited not so far into the season? It's about halfway into the season. Why have you waited so long? That's a question to you, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it does take that because we have to remember Aubameyang was our club captain as well. And it's often, a curse more than it can be a good thing because you often find that you have to play your captain even though they're not necessarily on form. But it took last season. We Smith Rowe came on. It was Boxing Day, I think, and played pretty much the second half of the season. But before that, he wasn't getting any game time at all. And now I think we've found exactly the same with Martinelli. We already knew he had talent. It was just finding a way to get him into the team. Yeah. And now, he's not getting dropped now.
And do you know what? Watching recently, Odegaard, he's just a creative hub, isn't he? Of Arsenal. But he wasn't looking that strong before. And now he's clicked. Saka's clicking with the rest of the guys. Martinelli, I know Smith Rowe was not on today, and him and Odegaard are maybe a bit of rotation there, but they're just clicking. They're playing with their hearts. That's what I noticed about Arsenal today. Just energy, believing, playing with their hearts. That's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't doubt Odegaard was going to be good for us. Like, I knew he was that creative player that we were lacking. And it takes a bit of time, but I think we can see now that he has found his place in the team. And I think he's a good leader as well. Obviously, because he's the captain of the Norwegian team, and we just need players that have got that leadership quality. Even if he's not the captain, still to be able to just, when you've got leaders in the team, you can see that they gel a bit better.
Yeah, I think I've got to take my bias off here because I think everyone knows I don't like Arsenal. I think you've put in some good performances. I mean, I don't want to underestimate the caliber of the opposition. Because obviously you slapped up Norwich 5-0 at Carrow Road, and I could say it's just Norwich, but then again, United only beat them 1-0. So I don't want to underestimate that. But I mean, the games that you've won as a big club, you would be expected to win. I know that Arsenal have, I think it's the youngest starting 11 this season. But I would still expect with the caliber of players that you have to have been winning those games. So I'm not going to get over the top with Arsenal. I saw a lot of Arsenal fans on Twitter yesterday almost celebrating the fact that you lost 2-1. I saw it could have been more. It could have been all of this, But the fact is you still lost. And I just want to remind Arsenal fans that for so long, United were being criticised for having Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge. He slapped up Pep Guardiola 4 times. Yeah. In those games, we managed to score 10 goals past Man City. So all I'm saying is let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think you won the games that you should have won. But to be fair, you have been a very consistent side, and that's what it's all about. I think time's going to tell over the next few weeks about whether you can keep this going, because you've got some difficult games coming up. You've got Tottenham next. Then I think you've got, don't know which order it's in, but I know that you've got Wolves, Brentford, Watford, and teams like that, and Burnley. So they're all teams that could potentially be a stumbling block. So it'll be really, really interesting over the next 4 or 5 weeks as to whether you'll be able to keep this consistency up.
Yeah,
I think for me, had Gabriel not got sent off yesterday, perhaps it could have been a little bit different. You might have been able to get a draw or whatever it might have been, but he was absolutely stupid. No Arsenal fan can defend what he did. He got his first booking for doing a stupid thing right in front of the ref of trying to scrape up the penalty spot. And then in the second one, he completely obstructs his man that was running through. Okay, mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of people say that he couldn't have got out of the way. Yes, he could have. He knew exactly.
Second one was a yellow card, yeah. But for the first one, they aren't actually saying what he got it for. During the game, they were saying he got it for scraping the penalty spot, but nobody actually knows now. There was some saying that he got it for pushing into the referee. That was a Man City player. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but the yellow card wasn't given to him straight away when the ref saw him scrape up the penalty spot. It was like a minute after or something like that. So it might have been for dissent or speaking back to the referee. But yeah, once he's on that yellow card, he needs to be more careful. And yeah, unfortunately, that second one was a yellow card. I'm not even going to go into the officiating of that game because, one, you'll probably say that I'm being Arsenal biased, but we should have had a penalty.
Yeah, but you can be Arsenal biased. You're an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, I know, but I try and keep a level head, But the refereeing was shocking. Tom, what do you think?
I think I think you kind of made a bed for yourself a little bit though, like Xhaka pulling down, just stupid things like that, just stupid things, and then you're relying on good refereeing. If it wasn't for these stupid mistakes, you would have had that game, regardless if the ref was good or bad, and that's why I stand with it. I
mean, in terms of the penalty decisions, because I know that's what you're talking about. When I first saw it, I thought Ederson got the ball. I genuinely did because, it looked, because of the direction that Odegaard knocks the ball away from, you could say, and from the camera angles that were being offered as well, it looks like Ederson gets it. But then there's one camera angle when you really slow it down and do like a stop on it, where you can see that Odegaard's foot is under the ball and Ederson's foot goes on top of Odegaard's. I think the problem is that, was it the clear and obvious error that they talk about in terms of VAR? I'm not sure it was, because it was so difficult. And people still are saying, we don't know. We can't be 100% sure that Ederson doesn't get the tiniest of knocks onto the ball before he makes contact with Odegaard. And that's why VAR is so frustrating, because has it really done anything to add to the game other than give those dramatic kind of moments? I'm not so sure. I mean, I like it, but I'm not so sure what it's actually doing. And in terms of the Man City penalty, I thought it was an absolute penalty. And the reason why I say that is because Xhaka had a handful of his shirt, and he also puts his leg out. And yeah, Bernardo absolutely dives because you can see that he kicks his heels back. But when you're doing stuff like that, you are asking for that player to make contact with your leg. And that's what happened, and he gave a pen.
It was so uncalled for. And Xhaka's been my Arsenal villain for a long time. And yet he had a good performance the game before. I'm not saying he hasn't got a good performance in him, but man, players like that will let you down when you need them the most. I think you should have got rid of Xhaka a long time ago.
Did you see, when Man City nearly scored an own goal?
When Ake cleared it off the line.
Yeah, Ake cleared it off the line and it goes to Martinelli. The referee, he's running into the box, mate.
Yeah, but you can't blame the ref for that, okay? Because the ref.
Yeah, but he runs right in front of Martinelli,
I get that, but if Arsenal fans are going to say that that's the reason why Martinelli missed.
No, not at all. But why is he running into the box?
Because he's got to be somewhere. If he's not in the box, then how's he going to make a decision on potential penalty or whatever it might be?
When do you see referees run into the box?
Many times. When it's that close, you've seen. I'm sure we could find many times where referees have got themselves into the box. I know he made the wrong run because really what he should be doing is running away from the ball as opposed to running towards it. But Martinelli should still be scoring that. He should still be. He had plenty of time to place that into the corner of the net.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but
let's all celebrate Arsenal's 2-1 loss. Well done, guys. You put in a good performance. No, you genuinely did put in a good performance. Okay. No, so guys, if you're still watching, do let us know in the comment section below what you've made of Arsenal's performances over the last few weeks. And are any of you Arteta out yet? Because I'm still Arteta out. I don't believe in this. Trust the progress.
It's a process, you idiot.
Oh yeah, trust the progress. Okay, clip that up. Trust the process. Rubbish. Okay, Tom, let's move on to the mighty Foxes. What have you made over the festive period?
First of all, I want to address some issues in defence. There were some issues that carried on into the Man City game. Brendan really wanted to perfect the zonal marking, man marking. He didn't quite get it right, Man City. We conceded 2 goals in corners that game. We played Liverpool and he stuck to a strictly man marking approach. I mean, there was a few players in the 6-yard box, really structured, man marking outside of the 6-yard box, and it worked. There was 12 corners, we defended all of them. So it was amazing. There was players that came up from the academy, Dewsbury Hall, Luke Thomas, that played for their lives. They played because they loved the club. And that's like, for me, as a Leicester fan, I needed to see that. I needed to see that these players cared for the club. And, you don't always know. You don't always know. You know players give 100%. I always question, do they give 100%? I think they do. They try their best, but sometimes they don't have their heart in it. They're trying their best. They're trying to do what their technique for whatever reason. But I think sometimes you can tell in players, they just love the club and they're playing with everything. Dewsbury Hall was like sand. He was everywhere at one point. And Luke Thomas, has been a lot of memes about him having Salah in his back pocket. But I was cheering the whole time. Every time he tackled Salah, I was cheering like it was a goal. It was an amazing moment. Anytime he intercepted it or just whatever, it was an amazing game. It was a game that we've been dreaming of for ages. We lost to Liverpool recently in the League Cup. Liverpool are a bit smug to us at the moment because they beat us and had some bad history from last season. So to beat them today, literally I was shouting my head off the whole game, thinking we were going to lose goals the whole game. Don't get me wrong. Liverpool had loads more shots than we did, but I love the way we defended. I love the heart going forwards. And for me, Kasper Schmeichel is, he may stay on the line for corners, but I think he's number 1 to me. Number 1, Leicester goalkeeper. I know Gordon Banks is a great goalkeeper. Pete Shilton, great goalkeeper, but for me, he's the man, and we needed him, and he gave us what we needed at that moment to beat Liverpool. So, yeah, I think overall we lost 6-3 to Man City. We won Liverpool 1-0. I'll happily take that. I'll take that. I'll take a loss and a win against 2 of the biggest teams. I'll take that. At the moment, I'll take that.
Yeah, there were a few keepers that saved most Salah penalties.
Huh?
There are very
Maybe.
few.
Maybe there are, but did you see some of the saves he did? Some of the world-class saves he did throughout that game. I mean, Schmeichel was on fire.
Tom.
No, that's what I'm paying him a compliment.
Oh yeah.
There's
Sorry.
very few keepers that can save the most out of
Oh,
penalties.
few. I thought he said there's more keepers that can save.
Few,
I was like, oh,
very
maybe there
few
are.
Keepers.
What do you think, Nick?
Tom,
Is he your favorite? Is he your favorite goalkeeper yet?
You have to take that comment back that you would take losses if it gives you some results later down the line.
No, I didn't say that. I said
No,
I'd take a loss and a win against those two teams. I thought a loss and a draw. That's what I predicted. The rate Leicester, the way we're performing defensively wise, I'd take a loss. I would have taken a draw all day long against Liverpool to start that game with how much they were attacking us at the beginning. But we beat them, and I'll take that all day long. I'll take a loss against Man City and a draw and a win against Liverpool. But no, for every game, definitely not. 50% win, definitely not. But for those two teams, yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay. Apologies if you hear some background noise. I've actually got the washing machine on, so hopefully that will drown out. Okay, in terms of Leicester, I think that Rodgers is still clinging on to his job. I mean, you haven't been that good, Tom. I know you beat Liverpool, but you haven't been that good. You got smashed up by Man City. Absolutely, they took their foot off the gas. That's why you got those 3 goals back. You know, they were already 4-0 up or whatever it was at that time. The fact that you got 3 goals back, fantastic.
They took their foot off the gas, true, maybe. But Man City have got a long record of just keep smashing teams. And Leicester, I mean, they made the tweaks they made to do that at half-time. Brendan Rodgers has a knack for doing that. He's got a knack for having those half-time team talks to change the game.
Yeah,
He's great at that.
You didn't change the game because they put another 2 past you. So I know attacking wise, you kind of
corners. I've accepted that weakness.
Yeah, but they still managed to play to your limitations. So I mean, I get what you're saying in terms of the other games, but you got slapped up in that game.
We got them sweating at one point. It was 4-3. If it wasn't for our bad defense for corners, which has been looked at now, I think 4-3. I mean, it could have ended 4-3. Yeah, and we had them sweating. Did you see Pep at the side looking very, very worried? That was great for me.
Listen, Pep wasn't worried. He was just thinking, right, now they want a game, I'm going to make them cry. So that's what he did. He made a couple of tactical tweaks, and then he put another 2 past you. So I know you got it to 4-3. Brilliant. Because I was, listen, on that game, I was a Leicester fan. I was going, go on, Leicester. You can absolutely, because Matt, I think you were around mine at the time. They were 4-0 down or something like that. We were like, oh, flip me, Leicester. Rodgers, you're gone. Okay. And then it was 4-1. We were like, okay.
Serious?
And 4-2. And then boom. And then 4-3. And we were like, flipping out. There's a game on. And then it was 5-3. And then it was 6-3. And we were like, typical Leicester.
Nick, is that just what the Man U fans are saying? Rodgers are gone. So guaranteeing the Leicester camp, they're not saying that. No one is saying Rodgers out right now. No one is saying that.
No, mate. This is just kind of like the tail of the wind sort of thing. Is that at some point it's all going to start ending because how long can this actually go of the inconsistent form? Because a lot of people, well, Leicester fans I've heard from, is that they talk about how good Rodgers is. That he's probably one of I've had some Leicester fans say that he's the best manager that you've ever had. And then I say, well, what about Ranieri? He won you the Premier League.
Can I please just make 1 point? I believe they won 1 point.
Yeah.
Those two games weren't bad if you consider the injuries that we had. I know we keep saying injury excuse, but 5 of our really top players that probably would have started were not there at our disposal. Okay. And I think because of that, to win against Liverpool, who had quite a strong side, I think that was a great achievement. And
yeah,
I mean, the Man City game, it was always going to be a hard game with our injuries. Always going to be a hard game. And just to lose, I say we lost 3-0.
But you did it.
Could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse.
You lost 3.
Okay. For me, I think obviously to win against Liverpool, that's bought Rodgers a bit more time, and we'll see what happens the rest of the season. Like Nick said, inconsistencies. You need to have a consistent running form, and now's the time. But my question for you, because we are international break coming up, well, not international break, AFCON, sorry. Ndidi and the other guy, Amati, your only 2 fit centre backs at the moment are going to AFCON.
I know.
Who's playing in
He
defence?
wanted to figure out how Vestergaard's going to fit in and play. Because he hasn't been playing all
You're
season.
also losing Iheanacho as well, right?
Yeah.
So
Nigeria.
I was thinking of other teams that might be heavily affected by AFCON. We're losing Thomas Partey, which pretty big miss. I hope we can still cope with that. We're also losing El Neni, which is a backup for Partey. I'm not fussed about El Neni, but we need people in that position.
You've got Lukonga. You've got Lukonga.
Yeah. We've got Lukonga, we've got Xhaka. So I'm happy with that. And but back to the question for you, Leicester fan. You've got no centre backs.
True. We're going to have to go to like our 7th ideal pairing. Like our 6th ideal pairing was at Liverpool. Not the first choice, not the second choice, 3rd or 4th. And I think we'll have to go even far back. I think it's going to have to be like Vestergaard and Soyuncu's pretty injured. Evans hopefully gets back pretty soon.
We
really hope it. Maybe have to be someone.
Fofana's February, isn't he?
February.
Who's that?
Fofana.
Fofana, yeah. No, Fofana's not back yet. He's not an option. So, no, you're right. Defence is the only thing I'm worried about. Don't get me wrong, we've got holes, other parts, but defence. I've been worried about defence all season.
Maybe you need to go into your youth academy.
Yeah, and we have. I mean, I suppose
for centre backs, maybe you need to go in there for a centre back, someone that can play alongside Vestergaard. Because listen, Vestergaard might be slow, but he still can defend. I mean, when he was at Southampton, he always had a knack of cropping up with a goal against United from a corner or whatever.
I mean, that is true. In the air, he's quite good. But Brendan Rodgers only got him for the game, so we'd be in possession. That's the reason he got him, to give us more breadth. He's great at through balls. Pre-season and some of the early games, the through balls he was playing through the lines were incredible, but unfortunately we had to use them a bit more than we wanted to.
On paper, I think that Leicester are going to be okay, because I've just had a look at your next few fixtures. Plus, I'm really annoyed because I didn't realise that it was a double game week for Fantasy Premier League for some teams. But you've got I think you've got Everton this coming kind of Tuesday, I think it is. This Tuesday you've got. Wait, no, it's not. No, a week on Tuesday the 11th. You've got Everton, and then you've got Burnley at Turf Moor. That could be a complex one. Then you've got Brighton, and then you've got Liverpool at Anfield. So that could potentially be the slippery one, but they're missing players as well. And then after that, you've got West Ham at the King Power. So on paper, you should be okay. But as we know, the game's not played on paper. We wish it could be. So I think it'd be all right. I wouldn't be surprised if you come out of a couple of wins and a couple of draws, and maybe one loss. But I think that you'll be okay, despite kind of like the banter and the jokes or whatever. Leicester are a decent side. They've got good players. They've got good players that I wouldn't mind having for United on their bench. So I do think that they do have a good squad. All I'm saying is at the moment, Rodgers is not producing consistent performances. So that's why I'm saying over these next few weeks, very similar to Arsenal, it's going to be very interesting as to whether you can get some of that consistency. Start with Everton, go to Burnley, have Liverpool come to, you go to Liverpool, and you have West Ham as well. See what happens in those games. You never know. Leicester could find themselves back in the top 4 race. There's still plenty. We're only halfway through. We're only halfway through. One of the other questions I wanted to ask you was, have Leicester had any games cancelled by them due to COVID?
Yeah, I think the Tottenham one was cancelled by Leicester.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers really wanted to have that cancelled days before, and Tottenham was saying, no, we're playing. And then something happened, it broke the camel's back, and then...
Question I want to ask you is, why are some of your players so stupid to go to the darts last night? James Maddison and Hartley.
Look, I'm still mad about James Maddison going to that party last year, which I'm still mad about that. So don't get me started about darts this year, because no, I'm not happy about it at all.
Do you know? I on his TikTok, he did like a day in the life of a Premier League footballer, and so he did kind of like waking up, eating his breakfast, playing with his son or whatever, going off to training. You got to see the Leicester complex, which was really, really nice. but then he was home by like 2 p.m. or something.
Yeah,
like
they
that.
finish
For
at like
me,
2, don't they?
footballers have pretty easy lives, if I'm honest, right? And then they're kind of getting games cancelled because of COVID, but they're still going out and splashing the cash and watching the darts and things like that. I think it's a joke, especially when, for so many of us, football is our lives. You know, we want to watch those games, but then they're going off and doing that.
I agree. I mean, even when he played for England, he was spotted. I think he was injured, wasn't he? But he was spotted gambling in that casino.
Yeah.
I think I love James Mann. I love the swagger when he plays on the pitch, but when he takes it out and he goes off and does all these things, especially during lockdown stuff, I think he needs to stay switched on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But no, I think Leicester have been all right. You know, I'd say that the worst kind of result of the festive period was obviously that Man City game, but the rest of them not too bad. It'll just be interesting to see what
I would have said exactly. I would have been very worried if it would have been 6-0 and then we showed no heart. That's what would have worried me. We showed a bit of heart. We gave us some hope for. And the Liverpool game, we followed it up with some more fixes. So I've got a lot more hope.
Yeah, no,
That's
absolutely. Yeah, that game, you know, they showed a lot of heart. They got a lot of hope back, but then Man City ended that hope. Anyway, guys, if you are still watching and any of you are Leicester fans, let us know as to what you thought the progress was in terms of your mighty, mighty, fabulous Foxes. Okay, so let's move on to the Red Devils. Let's move on to them.
The boring Devils.
The boring Devils. You say that, but we've been more consistent than Arsenal over the festive period, and we've had 2 games cancelled. I think for me, you know, as Matt rightly said, we have been boring, but very similar to what Tom says, I do have some hope for our team. I genuinely do. That 45 minutes against Crystal Palace, I was loving it. I was thinking, wow, this is going to be our new team. However, then the team seemed to, I don't want to say down tools on Rangnick, but they started to go back into what I call Ollie ball. So they were very sort of subdued. They were very much going back to those sideways and backwards passing. They weren't really showing any authority. How you can go to Norwich and have Norwich slap you up, I'll never know. And we were very, very fortunate to come away with those points.
Yeah, you should have lost to Norwich.
Well, you know, many things should have happened, but the fortunate thing is we got those points. And, you know, so some of our other performances haven't been great. However, at Old Trafford against Burnley, I was very happy with that because it was almost kind of like okay, today we're not going to look to defend. We're just going to look to attack. And when that happens, you then invite the opposition onto you. And I've had a lot of people say to me, you didn't kind of, you didn't dominate Burnley or whatever, but we did because they had that one main opportunity that Aaron Lennon scored that De Gea should have saved with some of the saves that he's been making so far this season. But apart from that, Burnley were very restricted to the aerial ball. I think that there was only a couple of times where James Tarkowski actually got his head to the ball and he put it over the bar. And how anyone can say that that was a golden opportunity, I'll never know, because most teams have those opportunities, whatever team you are, throughout the course of a game. And we took our chances. So we scored 3 goals, but we could have had more. McTominay, for me, was like prime flipping Luka Modric. You know, he was just getting there. he was.
Mate, it is Burnley though. Can I just throw that back at you? Winning the matches that you're supposed to be winning. This is Burnley. They're in relegation zone and they are pretty shocking at the moment.
They're in relegation zone, Matt, because they've only played 15 games. They have like 6 games in hand on everybody. Okay, so you could say that, and I know what you're trying to get at here. They've only played 15 games or 16 games or whatever it is.
17 games, mate. It's only 1 behind Watford.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they played Leeds today, didn't they? When they played us, they had only played 15 games. Since then, they've had 1 more game. So it was 16 games. Now they played today and they got beaten, didn't they, by Leeds or whatever it was?
Yeah.
So, you know, so you say that, but they were also very, very fresh against us.
Yeah, but come on, just admit it. It's Burnley. You should be beating Burnley, right?
It is Burnley, and then I'm going to throw that same point to you when
you already did earlier. You already called me out on it earlier, saying we're beating the teams we should be beating. So yeah, that's why I'm saying it to you.
Absolutely, and you can keep throwing that back to me, and I am saying it is Burnley. But over the years, Burnley have provided some golden kind of games against some of the big sides. They've beaten Liverpool, they've beaten Arsenal, they've beaten City, they've beaten United. So Burnley aren't mugs, okay? Anyone that think Burnley is a mug, I think you're a fool. Because they do have James Tarkowski, who not long ago was being linked with teams like United and Leicester. So he's not a slouch. So
He's still being linked to Leicester.
Yeah, so Tarkowski, he's a pretty decent player, and that Dwight McNeil is a very decent player as well. We should absolutely be beating them, and we did beat them.
What happened at Newcastle?
Well, that was also our first game back after 16 days. And I know some people are going to be saying, yeah, but you were completely fresh. But also you could say that we had, I think, 5 days where Carrington was out of action. So there was no training sessions going on. Yeah. So I think that you do also have to provide a little bit of context behind some of your statements, Matthew.
I just thought their performance.
Yeah, but everybody's in the same boat, mate.
Are Arsenal in the same boat? You haven't had any games cancelled on your through you. Like you've not been able to not train. You've not had that.
We did have the training facility closed for a couple of days.
When? You've not had any games cancelled on your behalf.
No.
No, so you didn't have it closed because otherwise you would have had to have had your games cancelled.
We did have it closed.
Okay. All right. So let's agree to disagree on that. I don't know whether that's
okay.
Wrong.
Yeah, fine. You can go and do your research.
Oh, I'm gonna listen. I like to research everything. That's what I'll do. But yeah, no, Matt, you're right. We should be winning those games, and we have won it. I think we've got 3 wins and 1 draw since Rangnick's taken charge, and I'd say he's been one of the most consistent managers over this festive period. But also, bear in mind we've had 2 games cancelled as well. Who knows what would have happened in those games because they were Brentford and Brighton, who can both pose a threat to the teams that they do play. But again, I would be expecting to win those games.
I mean, in Man U's defence a little bit, when Tuchel took over at Chelsea, the football was quite boring, but it was very defensive and they got results. However, I was surprised how much you did let Burnley in the other day and how their presses often got right into the last part of the pitch, the last third of the pitch. I mean, they got 10 shots onto you, 3 of those on target. Against your 18, so yeah, you were more attacking. I was surprised how much and how often you let them in. And I think you let them in so often. I think if it was another side like that, they'd smash you. I mean, I don't think at the moment, on paper, you've got an amazing side. Like, for you, what's stopping you, your squad on paper is as good as a Liverpool or even a Man City at points. What's stopping you from being that good? What do you think?
We don't have the mentality of player, okay? What I mean by that is our players, they don't want to put the effort in. I think that's obvious. Players like McTominay do put the effort in. Fred puts the effort in. But I think that we've got a bunch of prima donnas who just think, I can just turn up, I can play the game. If we win, fantastic. If we lose, it's not that bad. Players that aren't willing to adapt yet. I think the problem is that Solskjaer, even though he's a club legend, I absolutely loved him. He gave some great memories whilst he was here. He almost conditioned these players to be too friendly with the coaching setup. Whereas Rangnick's come in and said, listen, boys, I ain't your friend. We're going to do these things the way that I want to do it. You're going to be high intensity. I mean, De Gea came out and said, every training session's high intensity. You can't take your foot off the gas or anything like that. You just got to keep on doing what we're being told to do. But I think that there's some players, and I'm going to put Rashford into this. I'm going to put Martial into this. I'm going to put Harry Maguire into this. I'm going to put Aaron Wan-Bissaka into this. Of all players that are still under that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer mentality of hit it long, see what happens. But I don't really want to press. Ideally, what I want, and I do think that Rangnick is on the verge of doing this, I do think that Maguire needs to be dropped. And I do think that Maguire needs to have the captaincy taken away from him. I think the pressure is too much for him, okay? It's like what Gary Neville and Rio Ferdinand both said. Maguire came in with an £80 million price tag on his head. And then after a couple of weeks, he was given the captaincy. That's a ridiculous thing to do, He had been there for 5 minutes, and now he's got all of this pressure on him, knowing that he's got Ronaldo up top, okay? He's got Cavani up top, both players that should be captain over him. He's got De Gea behind him, who should be captain over him. I think that the reason why we bought Maguire was because of his performances in that World Cup, okay? But he had no pressure on him. I think that that's the Maguire that I want back, because I know that there's a bloody good player in there, and I know that he's a fantastic player. And I'd say that he, on his day, in his best form, he's one of the top centre-backs within the league. And I don't think that there's many that could say that they're better than him, other than Virgil van Dijk, maybe, in the form when they're both on form. But I think that he needs to be dropped. I think that his head's got too big. Some people might say that it's already big, but it's got too big. And I think that he does need to be dropped. I would like maybe De Gea or Ronaldo to get that captaincy, let Maguire focus on himself, play his game, but he needs to be dropped. And I think Lindelof and Varane is our best partnership.
That surprises me. And I know I've been watching Maguire very closely at Man U. I know some of his faults. At Leicester, he had Evans next to him. Evans is an amazing communicator and organiser at the back. And he played so well because he had someone to organise him. Like, I'm surprised they can't get Varane organising him a bit more. I don't know, maybe the language barrier or some other issues.
No, Varane speaks perfect English.
Does he? So what's stopping them from being so good together?
I think that there's been a lack of partnership there. You've got to remember that Varane was out for 6 weeks. He came back against Newcastle, didn't have the best performance because that's the first time he had kicked a ball in a match for 6 weeks. I think that they haven't had long enough to build that partnership. But at the same time, I do think that Maguire is crumbling under the pressure of having that captaincy, especially at Old Trafford, when he's got the fans abusing him. There are times where the fans are abusing him. He's got all of the media kind of looking into him and things like that, getting criticised on Twitter and stuff like that. He sees all of this. So I think from a psychological point of view, it's taking its toll on him. I think the lad needs to have a few games on the bench. Eric Bailly coming while he's got off to AFCON, or Lindelof once he's back from COVID to come in. I wouldn't mind seeing one of our youth players. Don't know if you've heard of him, but Tida Mengi. He's a brilliant player and he's rapid. So again, up with Varane, I think that could be a good partnership. I just think something needs to be done, a slight tweak, just to say that, guys, none of your positions are safe. Okay, we're going to drop the captain of the club now, and I would also really like to see Van de Beek given an opportunity as well. But the one player that has kind of stood out for me has been McTominay, and I've been a big critic of him over the seasons. Yeah, but he's starting to produce now. I think that he does have that sort of, like, I don't want to say United DNA, but he knows what United are about. You've got to work hard. You've got to press. You've got to do all that you can. I think that he's a good box-to-box midfielder. I don't think he's that DM that we need. If we can get a defensive midfielder in this month, I think you might see the best from McTominay. It's been okay. The festive period's been okay. We win our three. If we win our 3 games in hand, like I said, we'll be 3 points off second place. I don't think that's too bad, in my opinion. Matt, what do you think of kind of how United have been? Take your Arsenal bias off.
Yeah. No. When you were speaking about prima donnas, I thought you were about to call out Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes.
Well, yeah, I'd put Fernandes in there. I wouldn't put Ronaldo.
I wouldn't put Ronaldo in there. After watching the game against Burnley, I wouldn't put Ronaldo in a prima donna. No. Definitely not.
But I'm just going really off from what I heard about the Newcastle game. Something about body language.
Yeah.
And how they were, like, every time, like Rashford, for example, who's obviously not on form at the moment, and he's not really doing anything to contribute. But it was like, I didn't actually see the game, but when he slipped up or made a mistake, then Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes would it's okay to say like, come on, do better, but it's in a constructive way. And I just heard something about the body language towards other teammates.
Yeah,
that they weren't happy with.
Yeah, you could see it throughout the game. Bruno just kept on doing the whole and this and putting his hands in the air like, why aren't you moving, sort of thing. And every time that the official gave something against him, he'd always be like, what are you saying? Or when he get that yellow card that made him miss, that made him miss the Burnley game against Newcastle.
Yeah.
He was doing all of this. I'm just like, Bruno, just cut it out, mate. Last season, you came in with none of that. Every now and then you would do it, but you focused on the game. I think, for me, Fernandes is still up there with De Bruyne as the best midfielder in the league, because even when he's having bad games, he still creates those brilliant opportunities for other players to get on. I mean, I think he may still be the highest creating midfielder in the league this season, but the players around him just haven't taken their chances. So I think that he does need to be dropped. You never know. This suspension against Burnley that he's had, tomorrow he might come in and start lighting the place up again. I think that, again, Fernandes might be a little bit too big for his boots at the moment, just because he knows that at the moment, like, United fans absolutely adore him. There is a split to say that, like, the whole Pogba versus Fernandes kind of camp, like which one you're in. But yeah, Fernandes, I don't like what's going on. But then McTominay came out after the Burnley game, was asked about the body language, and said that after that game, Rangnick didn't like it. He came in and said, cut all of that out. And the players seem to have adapted to it. But I'll never put Ronaldo into that prima donna category. I can't, because he's rescued our season. But certainly Fernandes would go into that with the other players I've mentioned. And Rashford needs to get his form back, but he needs a spell on the sidelines too.
Well, he did, didn't he? Didn't start the other day.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I completely forgot that Fernandes had that suspension until the other day when I realised. Because I thought he'd been dropped as well. Because I know you were calling for him to be dropped for even just a game, just to see how other players can fit in the team. Interesting lineup that you went with against Burnley, but you were calling for Ronaldo and Cavani to start together, and it did work. So, yeah.
You know, Cavani didn't have his best game, if I'm honest. He was a little bit off the pace. I don't know whether it's because it was his second game back after injury or whatever it might have been, but he didn't have that usual kind of Cavani factor where he was literally pressing absolutely everything. I don't know whether that's been told. He's been told not to do that, because Rangnick's also the sort of manager that when he comes in, if his way of playing isn't working for his players, then he will play to their strengths. Yeah. So maybe he's thought, if you press by yourself, you're going to leave that gap. Okay, so that's why he's saying don't press. So it'll be interesting to see what he does against Wolves tomorrow. But yeah, something needs to change. We need to get that fluidity back. I was pleased to see Shaw come in. I thought that he had a really, really good game, like I knew that he would. But Wan-Bissaka, for me, I think that he's made himself into a bench player now. I think Dalot has gone above him. I still think that Wan-Bissaka is the best defensive right back, but we know that right backs and left backs now, they have to be able to attack and defend. And I think that Dalot can do that, but obviously he's quite limited in his defensive attributes, where that's where Wan-Bissaka excels. But going forward, I just don't think he's offering much. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't really get his place back and Dalot starts tomorrow, which I don't think will be a bad thing. So I think that we've spoken enough about United now. So guys, let us know in the comments section exactly what you think of how United have been. All right, guys, so we have discussed the main points. So let's go into what we think is going to be the predictions. Actually, first, just before I do that, I just want to ask you this question. Given all of the games that have been cancelled due to COVID, do you think that we should just halt the season for a few weeks until kind of like the cases go down a little bit to stop all of these games being cancelled? Because all I'm saying is that there's going to be a couple of months where there's just game. Now, from a fan's point of view, that could be great because there's loads of football. But players' point of view, it could really hinder them and their performances. And I don't like how some teams are playing and some teams aren't. You know, I really don't like that. So I would be one for saying, let's have a 2 or 3 week winter break now, so that we stop having these congestive periods that are going to happen in February or March or April, whatever it might be. Just bring it to a halt, let the cases go down, and then let's resume. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Just a couple of seconds each. Matt?
I'm glad we haven't stopped. And I know you'll say because we've only had one game to stop. But I just don't like to see. Obviously, I want football to continue because I like watching it, and my life is empty without it. No, but I'm glad that we haven't stopped due to COVID, because I think the best way to get through COVID is by carrying on through COVID, and I think it would have been detrimental to go back to that same position we were in before. I think we've learned from that before. I mean, the world. I don't mean football. I mean. I think the next step is to treat COVID like the common cold. You know, if a player's got a cold, he doesn't play and he doesn't interact with people. You know, people have illnesses all the time. So I think that's the best way to get through this. And so I'm glad we haven't postponed the games. And I think it has pretty much balanced out now. I think only Burnley are kind of a bit more behind, maybe a few games behind other people. But if we stop the season now, then they're still going to have them games in hand. There's still going to be congestion at some point. And it would obviously mean just prolonging the season. which also has a knock-on effect for next season. So I think what's currently happened is fine. If it was to continue and there'd be more congestion, because the more congestion there is, I know you said a quick answer, this hasn't been quick at all, but the more congestion there is, we still have to end the season when we're supposed to finish, right? So if we continue to just have congestion, then I don't know, maybe we have to rethink it. But I think from the looks of the games that have been postponed this week, seem to be on the up. I hope.
Yeah. No, I think you're right with that. Tom, what are your thoughts?
Kind of in both camps. Like, I do think it should carry on because I love football, but part of me thinks if we reset now and have a few weeks off, for it to be a much smoother second half of the season, I would go for that if I knew that would be the case. But you never know with more cases. You never know. Even if 3 weeks off, there might be still loads of issues. You might have to.
Exactly.
And then you really messed up. So I mean, part of me thinks, best maybe good for the players too to have a bit of time off and reset and all that sort of stuff. I can see the benefits, but could really regret it later if things keep going bad to worse.
I just think that the teams that are in the Champions League are going to be the ones that struggle, because I think what's going to happen is that, like United, they've got to find 2 games to play. And I was looking through the fixture periods. I'm just like, when are these games going to be played? Because we've got the FA Cup, then obviously the Premier League returns, and in February the Champions League starts. So are we going to be given those 2 extra games during the week when we're not in the Champions League? But then you have to think about the broadcasting rights. Obviously, UEFA want everyone to watch the Champions League, but then the Premier League be wanting them to watch all of those games, all of that sort of stuff. I know that's out of our control, but that does kind of fall into it as well. And then it's a good opportunity for the players to kind of rest during that week in preparation for their next game, and they won't have all of that. So I think it's going to affect the top clubs more than it's going to affect the kind of mid-range and lower clubs as well. But yeah, ideally, I want all of the games to continue. But there were times when, United weren't playing, and I've seen all the other teams playing. I was like, maybe this point of view is just coming from an element of jealousy. I very much do believe, like, if one game gets cancelled, or 2 or 3, because I think that there was a point where like 4 or 5 games got cancelled and only Arsenal were playing on that day. I was like, if that happens, all games should be cancelled. Just because I think that it does also give an unfair advantage to certain teams as well, because you never know what they're going to actually perform like in a few weeks' time when those games are replayed. Just talking about like the psychology of football, stuff like that. But obviously, we're all in agreement that it should carry on if it can, and there's not much too much more disruption. Okay, so very, very quickly, let's go into the predictions for the next game. So, Matt, let's start with Arsenal versus Tottenham. What are you thinking? Because Tottenham, they're in a good run of form.
Yeah, and it's at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which still feels weird to say. But we're going to win 2-1. They'll probably get a penalty or something, I don't know. But yeah, I think we'll, if we play like we did against Man City, I think we'll win.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think Tottenham's defence these days is too good. He's really getting a tune out of those defenders like Dyer, who we thought, might be on his way out of, he wasn't doing too good, was he? But he's getting a tune out of them. So I do think Arsenal have what it takes to break them down. Watching them against Man City, I think the first half against Man City, Arsenal were just such a good attacking force. I think 2-1 to Arsenal.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. I think, though, that Tottenham are defensively better than Man City.
They are good defensively.
I think that's what Conte relies on. He wants that solid back four. And he's also getting a tune out of Kane now, and he's getting a tune out of Son as well. And also Harry Winks in the centre of midfield. He's starting to turn up things as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 0-0 draw. But I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Tottenham, just because I think that they're offering so much. I mean, they scored in the 96th minute yesterday. You could write Tottenham off at that point, but they still carry on going right to the very end. And that's a Conte side. So I've been quite impressed with Tottenham. So you guys are going for Arsenal wins. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Tottenham win. Then let's go to Chelsea versus City. What do we think?
Oh, my life. I think Man City.
Yeah.
I think they're going to win. I think Chelsea, I've not took their foot off the pedal. They're just struggling a little bit now. You know, they're getting draws where they would have won. I think Man City are going to really capitalise on that. I think it's going to be 3-2 to Man City. Because Man City's defence isn't the best, as Leicester showed. Getting 3 goals that quick. I mean, yeah, their attacking is amazing, but their defence isn't the best.
Yeah. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, Tuchel knows this is the big game. He will drill his players like to the max to try and get something out of this game. So I think it will be close, but I'm going to go for, I don't know. 3-2 does sound good, but I'm going to go for 1-0 to Manchester City.
Yeah. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I don't think that they're both as defensively sound as what some make them out to be. I think that they do have limitations and vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And I think if they just attack each other, we're going to get a very similar game to what happened between Chelsea and Liverpool. I don't think that will happen because I think Tuchel will be scared to go like that because he knows how good Man City are offensively. So going forward, but I'd say Chelsea just about edge it in terms of kind of defence. That's why I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I can't see either team dominating the game. I just don't think that Chelsea will allow that, and I don't think Man City will allow that. So I think it's going to be a standard 1-1 draw for me. And then let's go on to United Aston Villa. Stevie G experienced his first away loss today. So you know, hopefully we can carry on that trend. I'm not sure whether we're actually playing them at Old Trafford or Villa Park. It might be Villa Park because I think Villa beat us at Old Trafford. That was Dean Smith's last game, or one of his last games anyway. So I'm going to go for... It'll be interesting if Pogba's back as well, which he could be. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to United. Tom, what are you going for?
Yeah, I think just like at Burnley, I think Man U are going to struggle with the attack a little bit. That Gerrard set up at Villa. So I can see there being goals both ends. I still think Man U should have scored a lot more against Burnley. Ronaldo had some easy chances he would normally score. So I think I really back Ronaldo having a good game. I really think it's going to be I think it's going to be 4-2. 4-2. I think it's going to be a lot of goals.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah, I think it'll be a 1-0 win, scrape win from United. It will also depend because you got them in the FA Cup as well. The weekend before that,
we do.
The Monday actually. I think it might all hang on how that game goes.
Yeah. Because
whoever loses that game might come into the other game thinking, well, we need to get a win now. So yeah, but I think it'll be a 1-0 United.
Yeah, and listen, if that happens, I'll take it. I'll take 1-0 victories for the rest of the season if that could happen, for sure, which we know it won't. Okay, let's go on to quickly Liverpool versus Brentford, bearing in mind Salah and Mane will not be there. So Matt, let's start with you, Liverpool versus Brentford.
I'm going to go for 1-1.
Yeah. Tom?
I'm going to go for 2-1 Liverpool.
Okay. I'm going to go for 1-0 to Brentford. The reason why I'm going to go for that is because recently they have started to be defensively sound. They seem to have got that defensive vulnerability sorted out. And they always pop up. One of their centre-backs always pops up with a golden opportunity, whether it's Janssen, whether it's Pinnock, whoever it is. They always pop up with that. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's going deep into the game or in the early stages of the game where one of their centre-backs pops up. So I'm going to go for a 1-0. And if they get that 1-0 lead, I see them holding on to that, because especially given the fact that Liverpool will be reduced to Jota, Origi and Minamino. All right, and then let's finish with Leicester versus Burnley. Tom, what are you saying?
This is at Turf Moor as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think Leicester will win that. I think there's a lot of pressure on Brendan Rodgers. I think there's a lot of pressure for him to win. So I think we'll got what it takes. I think it's going to be 2-1 I'll say the one because Leicester are leaky.
They're leaky like a drip.
They are. I'll admit it. They are leaky.
Yeah. Okay. And Matt?
I'm going to go for 2-1 to Leicester as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I'll go for a 1-0 win to Burnley. No, I'm joking, to Leicester. I think that they'll
for that past you'd say that.
I think that they'll crop up, they'll pop up with something. Okay, and just to finally just finish off is our player flops, our manager flops, and then our players of the festive period and manager of the festive period. So I'll start. In terms of player flop of the festive period, I'm gonna go for Van Dijk. I think he's been poor. Since I've read all the tweets and people talking about him so much, but he hasn't got back to his form. Don't care what anyone says, and I think that he's been the flop of the season, flop of the festive period so far, because I don't think that he's offered that defensive stability that you would come to expect from it, the best defender in the world. Matt, who's your flop of the festive period?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was struggling because there've been so many games, or if I really just wanted to say Lukaku for his crazy interview the other day.
Yeah, no, you could say that but to be fair though, he's got 2 in 2, like 2 goals in 2 games. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, no, it is justifiable. But I also think his interview is a little bit justifiable. He shouldn't be doing it, but they spent so much money on him.
97
he's not getting played because he doesn't fit Tuchel's system. Well, why did you buy him then?
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's fair to say that just because of how he's behaved off the pitch. Tom, who's your flop of the festive period?
So I'm not going to say festive period because I think he's played really well. I just want to say his name. And because he did make a flop, he missed the penalty against main man over here. I'm going to say, I think he's the best player in the world, right? And I think that this season he definitely is. Statistically wise, I think he's great. But Salah, he missed the penalty. It wasn't even a good penalty. So I'm going to say Salah's going to be my flop of the festive period because he should have done better on that one game.
I'm pretty sure.
If Matt's giving us Lukaku for a dodgy interview, I'm giving it for Salah for missing an actual penalty, which was quite a big thing. I think it's more justified than Matt's answer.
Even though Salah scored like 6 goals during the festive period.
I know. He's great. Don't get me wrong, but he missed the penalty. And I loved it. I was cheering. I was like,
I'm not surprised you were cheering.
Listen,
and the ground cheered, man, and that's what got Leicester back in the game was that miss. So for me, it was like,
listen, calm down. It's not the Jeremy Kyle show, all right?
We'll turn it into it if you want.
Okay, so manager flop of the festive period. Tom, over to you.
I don't think Ed Howe's got a tune from Newcastle at all in any. Maybe against Man U, yeah, they did all right, but I think things are looking bad there still. I thought he would kind of generate some. He's playing with like some players he knew before, Wilson, Fraser. I just thought he would get something out of the players a bit more. I'm going to say Eddie Howe because he hasn't done anything yet.
Okay, Matt?
Yeah, I'll say Eddie Howe as well. I always forget the Norwich manager's name.
It's Dean Smith.
Oh, it's Dean Smith now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not.
I forgot the other guy got sacked.
Okay, so
Dean Smith. Okay. Dean Smith hasn't done anything at Norwich since he came in, and I hate Dean Smith. I completely forgot he existed for a second there, but I'm going to go for Dean Smith.
Okay,
because you forgot he existed. Yeah.
Mine was debatable between Eddie Howe and Ranieri, just because I think Ranieri's he's on a lifeline at the moment. But there was a lot of expectation put on Eddie Howe that he was going to be able to turn these players around. I think the only player that he's actually turned around is Joe Linton. I think Joe Linton started to do pretty well, more as a defensive midfielder, to be honest. But when you look at some of the caliber of players that Newcastle do have, like Alan Saint-Maximin, I think is a brilliant player, and my boy Lascelles as well. They do have some good players there, but Eddie Howe's not getting the
Hey, did you hear who Newcastle are going to sign? Yeah,
Aubameyang.
Yeah.
So
they're going to try and get him on loan for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I've read that. So, I think that Newcastle got their game called off because they're planning something bigger for the next couple of weeks when they know that they can get that respite period. So I'm going to go for Eddie Howe anyway, just because I hate the fact that they've got all of this money now, and I still want them to be the relegated team and to be the most expensive team in the Championship. Okay, so let's go to the player and the manager of the festive period. In terms of the manager of the festive period, I'm going to give it to, it's easy to say Pep Guardiola just because, like, you know, he's winning everything, but I'm expecting that. But I'm actually going to go for, despite the football's not been great, I'm going for Rangnick. I'm going for Rangnick because nobody,
what a surprise,
no one other than Guardiola has better results. Okay, he's got.
Yeah, but you have had 2 games called off.
Yeah,
and you played relatively easy teams as well, relatively.
But what do the points tell us? The points tell us that he's taken 10 points from 12. Yeah. So statistically, other than Guardiola, he's been the next best manager. Okay.
Okay. You give it to Rangnick.
I'm going to
give it to
Rangnick. So Matt, who are you going for?
Arteta.
Okay. Why? Justify it.
Well, he's been very consistent as well, apart from losing to Manchester City.
Okay. Even though he's only got 9 points.
Yeah.
It's only one off.
I think handling that Aubameyang situation and still getting the team behind him, I think that is an excellent managerial job. Plus, you know, great performances against, well, some tricky teams and some teams that we should be beating on paper.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you know, I'm sure Arteta was celebrating that 2-1 loss yesterday. So, Tom, who are you saying?
As much as I did want to say Rodgers at this point, I'd have to say Arteta, because Arteta really turned it around. And the players are playing for him. They're playing for him. Against Man City, it was obvious the players believed they could beat Man City. And only for the last minute Rodri goal was that dream. Well, could have been a draw. Was that dream really not realised? So I do have to say Arteta. I think he's getting a really good performances out of pretty much his whole squad.
Thanks, Tom. I'll give you that.
But he plays Xhaka, so that's. But yeah, apart from that.
Okay, yeah, it's fine if you guys think that, but statistically, Rangnick is better. Anyway, so let's go to the
bottom half teams. Yeah.
Let's go to the player of the festive period. Matt, let's start with you.
What again?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for Martin Odegaard.
Why?
Scoring goals, getting assists. I think he's been the most consistent player in the festive period in terms of scoring goals and getting assists.
Okay. Yeah, Tom?
I will do some research to back that up. I probably should have done before I said it, but I think he's definitely been scoring and assisting quite a lot recently, and I don't know who else other than maybe Mo Salah that has been getting the same numbers.
Tom?
I mean, okay, Matt's chosen an Arsenal player, so I'm going to choose a Leicester player.
Oh, is it Schmeichel?
He just did, yeah, Schmeichel. Because he didn't just make the penalty save, he made some really good saves just to really, you know, to really put Liverpool in their place on that performance. So, you know, he has to be, he's my hero at the moment. You know, he has to be my player of the festive period. If it's just not one performance.
I guess he did have to make up for letting 6 goals in against Manchester City.
But he made loads of saves that game. He's made loads. Unfortunately, he's made more saves than anyone this season out of any goalkeeper. Made the most saves, which says a lot for Leicester's defence. So, look, I'm being honest. Leicester's defence are one of the worst at the moment. But against Liverpool, we've shown we can fix stuff. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. All right, Tom. We've heard about how excited you were against Liverpool. All right, calm down. So in terms of my player of the festive period, I would say Salah, but again, I come to expect it from him. He sets the bar high for himself, so I wouldn't say he was the player of the festive period. Given the team that he's currently in and the way that they're playing, I'm going for my boy Leicester. No, I'm joking. I'm going for Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, because if we want to do comparisons between players and stats, Matt, Ronaldo out-trumps Odegaard in what's happened over the festive period. Okay?
He's Cristiano Ronaldo, though.
Yeah, playing
He's expecting of him.
Yeah, play it, but you can't compare the two teams between Liverpool and United. This is what I'm saying. With you even said yourself, we are playing
Glad you admit that.
football. Yeah. But I can admit that because I'm not a fickle fan. We're playing boring football at the moment, but Ronaldo is still popping up. He's still saving the team. He's still bringing other players into it. And I think that for me, he justifies being considered the player of the festive period, along with Odegaard. And I can't remember who Tom said because I don't agree, even though it is Schmeichel. All right, so that is it, guys. That is our roundup of the festive periods. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, then please do give it a big thumbs up, share it with all your friends, and also subscribe to our channel if you are new. So, boys, thanks for coming today. Thanks for sharing your opinions, even though they were wrong. And we'll get together again and bring another episode. Matt, any final comments?
Wolves, Man United tomorrow. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Gonna be a Man United loss.
Good joke, just like Odegaard. Tom, any final words?
Yeah, I've got some final words.
Oh, here we go.
Schmeichel.
Schmeichel president.
Going to be the player of the game next game. No, and hopefully the defense won't let him even have to make a save. No, I think I'm really excited for this next week's fixtures. I know there's a lot of FA Cups coming up, but I'm excited for football.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. However, I get depressed whenever the Premier League's not on, whether it's the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Champions League, whatever it is. I get depressed. There's
something charming about the FA Cup, though. There's something about lower leagues, teams find bigger, top league teams. It's amazing. They like it.
Not for me, it's not. I don't care.
Tom, who have you got in the FA Cup?
We got Watford. I'm actually going.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get Schmeichel's gloves. I'm gonna make a sign. Literally, I'm gonna make a sign.
Tom, it sounds like the only thing you're trying to get is a kiss from Schmeichel.
I'm taking my nephew to write a sign and be like, "Oh, you're my hero. Can I have your gloves so we can get his gloves?" Honestly. And then we're looking up to Schmeichel this week because he's our hero.
Then what's going to happen is Schmeichel's going to be walking over with his gloves in his hand. And you're going to be like, he's coming, and then he's going to give it to the little girl behind you.
No.
Yeah.
No. He's going to give it to me. I'm going to say, Ashley Schmeichel.
What you're going to do with them gloves if you get them?
I'm going to put them in a nice frame. I'm going to put them in a frame and put them just there, right? So you can see them every single podcast.
You know how some people never take off their socks. Tom's never going to take off his gloves. Right. Anyway, that's what we're going to end on. Okay, boys, thanks for coming. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
Laters.